Hey, today I have a special video just for you. I actually had a conversation last year with one of my good friends. His name is Johnny. He's an amazing English teacher, and we met as English teachers while living in South Korea. Now, Johnny is still living in South Korea. He actually is married to a wonderful woman, and he's such a great guy. He's so passionate about what he does. So I know that you are going to enjoy our conversation and learn a lot. But now I do want you to interact. All you have to do is, as you listen to our conversation, I want you to pick one tip, because Johnny gives so many tips that will be helpful for you as an English learner. Pick one tip, and in the comment section, just say, hey, I really liked this tip that Johnny gave us. And then write the tip, write what he said. Now, I'm going to pick one winner from those comments. And because Cambly sponsors today's video, as a sponsor, they're willing to give one student a 60-minute tutoring session. That's right. Totally for free for one winner. Now, for those of you who don't win, don't worry. Cambly still has some special discounts for you, and you'll find them right below the video. So Cambly, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Are you guys ready to listen to and watch the conversation I had with Johnny? You are? Well then, I'm Teacher Tiffani. Let's jump right in. All right. Hey, Johnny. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing, man?
I'm good right now. I mean, I'm a little bit tired. It's the end of the day, and I'm a little old, so this is about my bedtime.
Right. I know, like, for those that don't know, he's in Korea, and right now it's about 9:30 in the evening, right?
Yeah, so 9:30 in the evening plus 33 years old equals, like, this is time when it's time to wind down.
Exactly. I totally understand. I'm the same way. My bedtime is 9 p.m. I do not go to bed late, so I totally get it. All right, okay, Johnny. So we're going to get started, so I know you, but I know students are very curious to know kind of your story, who you are. Like, can you just give us a general idea of who you are? Tell us who Johnny is.
That is a deep question.
Like, where you from, everything.
Well, my name is Johnny. I'm from San Diego, California. I've been living and working in Korea as an English teacher for about 5 years now. A big life event, actually. I just recently got married.
Yes, so, congratulations.
Thank you. I just got married about, it's been a little over a month now.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah, so that's been the new development in my life, just getting adjusted with that. Other than that, I'm also a pastor at a international church out here in Korea. So I also do that. I wear many hats right now. So that's why early bedtime is the name of the game.
Yes.
As far as me personally, what I like, I'm a big fan of music. I'm a massive fan of baseball. And I don't think people understand, I'm a foodie. But I know everyone says they're a foodie. But when I say I'm a foodie, I mean I love food. All kinds of food.
Yes. I remember us having conversations back in Korea about avocados.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because it's really true. Like out here, like avocados, it's such a hot commodity because they're so expensive. Like I feel like I'm buying something exotic. Like
right.
Like I don't know what's going on with the $5 avocados in Korea, but we don't have that in California.
Because back in Cali, y'all have avocados for like $1 or less, right?
Oh my goodness. Avocados, you can get probably like 2 avocados for $1.
Oh, wow.
Like if at any point in California, they put avocados for $5, people would riot. They would riot in the streets. And like, for example, like my friend actually owns an avocado farm. Her family runs an avocado farm. So like she used to trade me sometimes. So like she would like, I need a hiking partner, or I need somebody to help me do this. Like, I'll give you some avocados, and she'll just give me like a bunch of avocados. So like out there, because they're so much easier to find and there's so many farms and resources, like they're cheaper. So that drives the price down. But I think out here, it's not as common. They're not as in demand. So the price goes up.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, it was nice coming back home. And I'm in Maryland, so I'm on the East Coast, but like my family loves Mexican food. So my mom cooks it really well. Like I was born in Arizona, for those that don't know. I was born in Arizona, so
that's
we were
right.
surrounded. Yeah, we were like surrounded by other Mexican people. So the Mexicans taught my mom how to cook Mexican food.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yes, I can't.
So now she cooks it.
Yes, so it's really good. So yeah, so avocados are a really big part of our diet too. So we love guacamole, everything. So it's
I like my mom one time, is a funny story.
Uh-huh.
Like I one time I told her, and like it's a story with Mexican moms. So Mexican moms, you can't just tell them one thing and they can't like just go overboard. So like
Uh-huh.
I told her I was missing Mexican food. Now I told her I was missing Mexican food, but in her ear she heard he's starving, he hasn't eaten in 3 months. So she sent me like 2 big FEMA packages. When I mean FEMA, these things were like 75 pounds each. I don't know how many kgs is that.
Whoa.
Yeah, they were like 75 pounds each. And inside were beans, masa mix, a cast iron tortilla press, a
Whoa.
molcajete. For people who don't know what molcajete is, that's what in English, a mortar and pestle.
Mm-hmm.
And but the Mexican one is made out of pure rock, like pure
Wow.
rock.
Wow.
She sent that over, yeah. And I'm not even gonna tell you how much she spent to ship it. She wouldn't tell me, but I found out through my dad. But oh my
75
goodness.
pound box? Man.
Yeah.
A mother's love.
That's how it tells you how much I love Mexican food and how much I love food and how much I love my family. And my mom loves me, clearly. But
Yes.
so,
Yes. You gotta thank the Lord for parents and moms coming through.
Really
Man. Okay. All right, guys, we got on the topic of food, and it's so easy to talk about that because I also love cooking.
Yep.
But okay, let me go back to the next question then, because the students are probably curious. Why did you become an English teacher, and how long? Now I know you've been in Korea for 5 years, but why did you become an English teacher? And I guess how long? If it's been 5 years, you can leave it there. But why did you become an English?
That's a really good question, because to be honest, a funny story. In college, all my friends would laugh at me because the 2 things I said I would never be. I said I never wanted to be a preacher. I never wanted to be a teacher, and I'm both. I'm not even kidding you. I said that verbatim. I remember. I said I never want to be a preacher. I never want to be a teacher, and now I'm both.
Wow.
But honestly, my first time teaching was I went to Africa and I volunteered in an orphanage in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And as a part of that volunteership, I got to teach some of the older kids English. And I don't know, I kind of really started to like it a little bit. Like, it was different than like teaching kids in America. I didn't want to do that. But teaching kids who like didn't know it and who had such a desire to learn, and then you see them like catch on and learn something and like grow, I was like, oh, I kind of like this. But then I didn't teach again for probably another like 5-6 years. And then I was actually working as a manager at a 5-star hotel in San Diego. And I was working crazy hours, like 80 hours a week. And I was getting paid a lot of money, but like, honestly, like my life was super empty, and like my spiritual life and walk with God was just dry. And I was just, like life to me didn't seem like fulfilled. It didn't seem like, oh man, this is not like, it has to be something more than this. So, just through a lot of prayer and everything. And I felt God was just telling me like, you need to go somewhere far. For those of you, know in the Bible, there's a character named Abraham. And God told Abraham to go. He didn't say where, he just said to go. So I felt that kind of same push. And actually it was between China and Korea. And kind of, I don't know how that worked out, but somehow something in me was like, China's not really the right fit, mainly because that air, the pollution. And I have a lot of breathing problems. So Korea was, they have the yellow dust, but it's like not as bad.
Right.
And so I ended up coming here, and I remember when I first came here, it was real rough. Like, just I had traveled many places. I'm well traveled, but I've never lived anywhere outside of California. So going from living in California all my life to Korea, if you know, is like black and white, day and night. It is completely opposite. So I came to live here. And those first few years are rough, but they proved really vital, and just kind of just my walk with God, but also my development as a person and my maturity. And soon I don't think I was a very good English teacher at first. I think those kids were really patient with me, but then when I started to be open to learn myself and to develop as a teacher, that's when things really started to catch fire, and I started to become better. I started to become more interested in it. I started trying to hone my skills. My students were getting better. I was enjoying this more, and my walk with God was where it was supposed to be. Then I felt the call to preach, became a preacher, and everything was just kind of, for the first time in my life, just firing on all cylinders and clicking. And so it really was kind of like, for me, like a wilderness moment where God brought me in this wilderness, and I was there for a little bit, but he brought me out of it. And praise God, now it's just I'm living truly a blessed life now.
That's what's up. Yeah, when I see your pictures on Facebook, honestly, I mean, outside of getting married, you look super happy, you and your wife.
Yeah.
But I can see that you look very fulfilled where you are right now.
Yeah.
And even the pictures of you with your church family, you guys look very happy and at peace. So praise God for that.
I mean, and I mean, it's not always easy too, because sometimes you have those moments that are not Facebook worthy.
Yes.
And I could, especially the first few weeks of marriage. For those of you who don't know, oh my goodness, woo! Those first few weeks of marriage are like it's like, hello, this is another person in your space for the rest of your life.
Exactly. My friend and I were just talking about that yesterday. She's been married for years. Like, she has 3 boys. Like, she's been married for a long time. But we were talking about how prior to marriage, and again, for those listening, I'm not married yet, but I have a lot of friends who are married. And they're saying before you get married, it's kind of like this, oh, so excited to be married, but you also are able to separate. Like, I love you, man, but you're also going home and I'm going to my house. But after marriage, oh, you're still here. You're not going anywhere. You're in my house, in my space forever.
Where are you going to go to? And especially like our apartment, like we're very blessed. Like, we got a really nice building in Chongwon, 2 years old. Everything's spanking new. We got 2 aircon. It's really nice, but it's cozy. Let me put it that way. It's cozy.
You're basically,
but it's nice. So it's like, we could have a fight all day. Where am I going to go to? She could turn 2 feet and I'm right there. You just look silly. Like, where are you even going to run to? You have nowhere to go. So
it's like it forces you guys to work stuff out quickly.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this, for all those people not married who don't get scared, like, it sharpens you in a way that nothing else can sharpen you. Like, more than friendships, more than these things. And it's nothing against people, like, because, like, who are married, because I know you're not married, but, like, man, you're sharper than 99.9% of my friends.
No.
but I'm saying is, like, it does something else that those relationships can't do. And it's hard, but, like, you start to see the growth in yourself, and it's really exciting. Like, she calls out things in me that, like, even I think, like, I don't know what you're talking about, like, oh, this, and I'm like, I don't see it, but you see it, so it gets me excited. So, like, that's really nice, like, in marriage. And sometimes people rag on marriage a lot and, like, oh, this is like, institution, all this stuff. But I'm telling you, it's like, it just keeps getting better, and it's awesome. I wish everybody could be married. I pray that for you. I honestly pray that for you.
Yeah.
And I pray God is setting you up, because, like, I can tell, like, he's working something. Don't worry.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being married. But yeah, my parents are married still, and they have a beautiful marriage. And again,
your dad looks cool, by the way. I don't know why. I don't know why I sensed that, but when you post message like, oh, I'm hanging out with EJ. I don't even know how I know his name. EJ, right?
It is EJ.
I'm like, this guy seems cool. I don't know why, but I want to hang out with him. He seems cool.
He's a cool guy. Everybody likes him. My dad is real cool. My mom is real sweet and real loving. Like, she's the mom that, like you mentioned, your mom sent you the package. My mom, if I get sick right now, my mom is already going to start making a soup yesterday. Like, she just is that mom. And then my dad is there. Yeah, it's there. My dad, he's a really cool guy. Like, he was the cool guy in school. Like, he's a cool guy at church. But he's also real kind and understanding. Like, he'll sit and listen to you if you want to talk. Like, he's just really, really a good guy. So
I told you, I don't know if that's a God-given gift or what, but I could just sense, even through pictures, I could sense when somebody, like, oh, this dude is righteous.
Yeah,
that's
you're right on the money.
That's the word of the day, righteous. This dude is righteous, right?
Yep. Yeah, he's there. All right, so guys, listen, those listening, you guys are getting a lot of gold right here. You're getting marriage advice, you're getting life advice, you're getting everything. Yep. So, all right, so you mentioned a little bit about your first teaching experience. You said that you didn't feel like you were the best teacher. So can you give us a little bit more information about, like, your first experience as a teacher?
My goodness. Has anybody ever seen the movie Kindergarten Cop?
Yes, from like
I
the
know you have seen it. I
yes
know you have seen it. I
kindergarten
know for a
cop.
fact you have seen it. But for those of you who don't know, if you know Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think most people know Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you don't know, look him up. Big
Uh-huh.
hulking Austrian dude who came into the United States and made it big in the film industry. And he plays this cop who goes undercover as a
Uh-huh.
kindergarten teacher. But obviously, he's insensitive, he's big, he's bulking, he doesn't know how to work with kids, he doesn't know how to be soft. So he goes in this room full of kindergartners thinking he's got this because he's got criminals and he can work with criminals. And it's just chaos. Like they're throwing things, there's food everywhere, they're shouting on him, they're picking their nose, pooping, peeing, shouting at each other, fighting. And like, that was my first day of teaching. 100%. Like I got 0.0% respect from the students.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Because like my whole thing was like, oh, I'm a funny guy. I like to get along with kids. I really love kids. I'm excited to have kids. So I was like, oh, it's perfect. I'll just get on their level. But like what they don't tell you is like what I learned is if you don't lay down the law first, then we try to lay it down afterward. They're not going to respect you. They don't
Right.
respect you. They're not going to learn. Because when you
Right.
try to do any type of rules or boundaries, it's out the window. You lost them.
Uh-huh.
And so like that was my first experience. Like the classrooms were really rowdy. I would get angry. I would just be kind of like fighting with them and shouting. Like I had one day like, oh my goodness, like there was this kid who would just like bully this other kid in class. And I always thought, stop that. And like this kid was just crazy. Like I'll be sitting in class, totally quiet, doing prep work. He comes in very quiet, puts his bag down, jumps on top of the desk, goes, ah,
Really?
and then just jumps down like nothing happened. Just that was cool.
He was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I like legitimately. And he would just like, oh my goodness, he was insane. And like I don't know why. I think the way they had it as new teachers, you got set up with the newer kids who are new to the program. So they weren't used to the program yet. So they didn't know how, okay, in this in this program, in this school, you don't act like this. So you had to kind of indoctrinate them a little bit.
Oh yeah,
reteach them.
Yeah.
So they were not with the system yet, and so they just thought they could just do whatever. And like so, I got a lot of those students, and it was just really, man, it was really, 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 really rough.
Wow. So Johnny, you mainly still teach kids too, right?
Yeah. Now I actually solely only teach elementary. A few older kids, like they're almost reaching middle school, but not anymore, not quite.
Okay, good. This is going to be an even more interesting conversation because your perspective is going to be very interesting with teaching little kids. I've had some crazy kids when I was in Korea. And like you said, I also am a fun person. I like kids a lot because they're innocent. They love life. But again, learning to lay down the law first and then having fun, that's like the key. You got to lay down the law.
Yep.
For those listening, lay down the law just means set rules first. Like lay down the law and make sure they know exactly what the deal is. And then we switch and have fun. So yeah. I totally get that. Same.
You had to do that. If you didn't, like, that's it. Like you lost them. And like that was like the worst part because as a teacher, like your goal is to see them progress, to see them reach their full potential. And so when you lose them, you can't teach them anymore. Like you feel like a failure. They're not learning. So like they feel frustrated. They feel like, and it's just like, it's all downhill from there.
Yep. All right. So then you learned from that experience and you've been there 5 years. So I know you're an amazing teacher now and the kids love you. Now, in your opinion, then, what have you noticed are the 3 best qualities of an English student? Like the kids that you've taught, like your best students, what have you noticed are the 3 things that are the best? Not necessarily the student with the top scores, but what are 3 qualities of a good English student?
Honestly, the first thing is your attitude.
Yeah.
Is like the best students that I've have had a really good attitude. Because, I know in the Korean system, they put a lot of pressure on themselves. So it's easy to get a bad attitude either way. You could say, I give up learning English because it's too hard. Or you could put so much pressure on yourself that you crack and you can't learn anymore. And so you just kind of fall apart. So like a good attitude is really key. That's the very first thing is you need to have a good attitude towards learning English. And you need to have a good attitude towards your teacher. Number 2 is you need to be studious. Because one thing is sure, like just learning the lessons, just hearing it is not going to help you learn English. you got to be able to apply that. You got to be able to go on your own and say, look, I did this problem wrong. Let me do it again. For example, I'm trying to learn Korean. And so I have these Korean books, and I grade myself, and I grade myself harshly. So like if I get a certain score, like below 3 or 5, like I do the lesson again. So I'm like, I didn't get it. I need to do the lesson again. So you need to be studious in that, where you're able to hold yourself accountable when you're not with the teacher. So when you're not with the teacher, are you studying? Are you going back over the work that you missed? Are you going back over the works that you got wrong? Like that is the that is the difference between I've seen students go from being like, they can barely speak a sentence to like advanced English. I'm having conversations with them about the news and politics.
Nice.
That makes a big difference. So I would say like attitude, studiousness, and I would say personally, I would say like accountability. Like you need to have accountability with your goals. So you can go in saying I'm gonna learn English, but that's a really ambiguous goal. Why are you learning it? You know, what is your goal? Or is your goal to hold a conversation in an interview? Is your goal to apply for college? Is your goal to work a job at a bank? Like, what's your goal? And hold yourself accountable to that. So that way you have a vision in mind. Okay, I'm learning English. I'm learning English with Tiffani. Okay, and I got this roadmap. This is what I want to do. Okay, this is where I'm going. And I'm not reaching that goal right now. Okay, I failed that lesson. Okay, I need to go back. And like, when you start to do that, you almost start to, you motivate yourself because you're progressing towards reaching that goal. But what happens is sometimes students lose sight of that. You know, they're like, oh, why am I even learning English? And then they either fall behind in their studies, and then they lose motivation and they drop out. And like, honestly, that is like the worst decision you can make, because you'll regret it so much more later.
Wow, those are really good. So you said good attitude, studious, and accountability.
Accountability would go. Yeah.
Excellent. Guys, I hope you guys are listening closely. These are really good points. You guys need to add these to your list as you're continuing on your English study journey. So very good. Okay, so we have those 3 qualities. Now, in your 5 years as a teacher, have you ever had a favorite student? And if you have, tell us about him or her.
Like, I had like a bunch of favorite students, but I'll tell you my most recent favorite one. His name is Joshua. So we have different levels in the elementary age, and we have 8 different levels. This is the highest level. He's at the highest level, but I've seen him come through the lowest levels. That's what makes it significant. Like, I've seen him progress so far, and I look forward to teaching him. Like he sometimes is the best part of my day. Because, okay, number one, like, this kid has such a great attitude towards learning. But the thing is, he wasn't the best student at first. Like, and to be honest, if I say like he's not, I don't know if I would call him the best student in the school, but he's the best student because of his attitude. Like, he's like, sometimes he'll be really struggling with a problem, but like, he'll turn to me and say, teacher, I don't understand. Teacher, can you explain this for me? And I will like get on one knee. I will help him out. I will work it out until like he understands. But like, that teachability is everything. Him being teachable is everything. And number 2, he's just like very grace giving, you know? So like, there's been times where like, you know this, you make a mistake as a teacher, and there's those students who will nail you. They will nail you to the wall. Because we make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. I made mistakes at spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, definition mistakes. And there's a students who be like, teacher, you made a mistake. And like, it's kind of like, okay, I can say like, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. And they'll still like just cut me out after that. Yeah, but like, I've made mistakes from him, and I said, I'm sorry, Joshua, I made a mistake. He's like, it's okay, teacher. Everybody makes mistakes.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, wow, you're so awesome. Like, I would be your friend if I was your age, but but he just has a good attitude towards his work, good attitude towards that. I could see him, like, when I'm talking, and he doesn't have to take notes, I could see him taking notes, and I could see him drilling what I'm saying. And when I correct his writing, he always is like, always correcting everything that I correct, and he always tries to do better the next time.
Nice.
And like, so it always seems like he sets a goal and he's trying to progress. He sets a goal and he's trying to progress. And, you know, just has good attitude, is very patient, very studious, always does his homework, pays attention in class, very patient, because you got to be patient when you're learning the language.
Yeah.
Teachers and students.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's my favorite student, and he's great, and I know he's going to succeed so well in school.
That's what's up. I mean, this little guy, he seems like he's a better student than many other adult students that I've taught in the past. Like, his drive is amazing.
He asks like theoretical, I don't know where, and like you can tell his English is a little bit still being developed. So, you know, he doesn't always get the exact, you know, grammar or syntax right, but sometimes he'll ask me really thought-provoking questions like, how did you even know to ask that? Like, I was getting married, and he said, teacher, why are you getting married?
Oh.
And I was like, honestly, Joshua, I was like, I don't want to live with anyone else for the rest of my life. I was like, and she's really beautiful, she's really cool. And he's like, okay, teacher, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just a little, I could tell he thinks a lot in his head, because sometimes I see him space out. Maybe that's his only flaw. I see him space out sometimes, but like, he's a cool kid. He's gonna be, he's like, honestly, I'm anxious to keep an eye on him. He's like one of those Steve Jobs, like type kids. Like, he has something going on up here that, you know, everyone thinks he's just a daydreamer, and like, no, this kid's going places.
Very nice. That's what's up.
I tell him, Joshua, when you get older and you're rich, right, you're gonna send me money? And he just like, maybe, teacher.
Not even yes. I'll think about it. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
That's what's up. Okay, so tell us what's the hardest thing. I mean, this kid brings you joy as a teacher. What's the hardest thing about teaching English?
Honestly, the hardest thing, because it doesn't come naturally, is patience. Is like the hardest thing is to have patience, because like for me, I'm a very task-driven, organizationally minded person. So we have a goal. We need to reach that goal today. We got this lesson to get through. We need to get through this lesson. And with English, that's not always so. You have kids who drag behind because they're not as developed as other students. Some students in the class, sometimes it'll be like there's a really smart student like Joshua, and there's a student who is another student, and they can barely put together a functional sentence. Yeah. And so it's hard for me to switch between patience to be like, okay, I want to be patient, but we really got to finish this lesson. You know, like, how can I help you? And I really try to like break down the sentence. This is why this is the case. You know, this is your verb. This is your noun. And then they still don't get it. And I'm still explaining it in different ways. And there's a point where you got to move on. Where you got to be like, okay, hey, I'll come back to this, you know, for you. So for me, that patience is really, really hard for me, because like, I think in my mind, sometimes we forget as teachers, like, the student is not supposed to be like you. It's not supposed to learn just like you. Maybe there is a student who learns like you, but that's rarely the case. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever had a student who learns like me. So like, you forget that, and like, as a teacher, you got to be careful not to apply that to the student. And you have patience, because you realize like, oh, this kid, this is not his first language, number one. Maybe he's a little bit high above his level. He's really struggling. He's new. Okay, I understand now. Like, I gotta like maybe meet with them after class a little bit before, or get a little one-on-one time somewhere to kind of narrow in where the problem is. So for me, like, that's the biggest challenge, is patience, is to have patience.
That's a good point. I think you brought up another good point when you mentioned that in one class, you can have students of different levels, different learning styles, and different learning abilities. And it's so exciting to get that student that learns quickly. But then, like you said, having a student in that same class who learns very slow, it's really hard for a teacher to balance those. I've experienced the same thing, and it's like, you don't want to hold back the learner that's learning really fast, but you also can't slow down for the others. It's really a tricky balance. So I totally get it. Yeah.
It makes you a better teacher, honestly. And like, I mean, let's get life lessons here. It makes you a better person when you surround yourself with people at varying levels and like just different abilities. Like, I always thought I would marry someone just like me. Probably my wife's in the other room laughing right now because I always thought I want to marry someone just like me, but like God gave me her and she is not like me in every way. Like we are so different. But like what happens is you rub up against each other, but you start to sharpen each other, right?
Yep.
And the Bible says iron sharpens iron. But the way
Yep.
iron sharpens iron is it smashes against each other, creates sparks.
Yeah.
And like when you're learning in a learning environment with a teacher and student, that's kind of what's happening on varying levels. Is you're rubbing against each other and you're sharpening each other. So like, yeah, I can be a student who's perfect at learning, but I'm gonna tell you that's honestly not always my favorite student. My favorite student is the one who's a really low level, but wants to learn, is teachable, has a desire to progress, and has, this, vision, whatever, however big it, just learn ABCs, speak a single sentence, have a conversation, and like start from there. And like from there, then we make each other better. Because that's what I didn't predict as teachers. Like, it's not just a one-way learning street. It's two ways. Like, you're teaching them, but you're also learning how to be a better teacher from, interacting with them.
It's a great point. One of my current students, and I'll move on to the next question, but one of my current students, who is one of my favorite, I won't say his name because then that may be a little bit of war between the students, right?
Start a war. You don't want to start a full-on like teaching with Tiffani war.
Right. Like, I thought I was your favorite. I'm like, no, I have many favorites, but one of my favorite students, he's not the best, quote unquote, like you mentioned, like he's not the one that can speak the best or have a full conversation without making grammatical errors. But he is one of my favorites because when I correct him, not only does he say it over again, he makes notes, he creates flashcards of what I corrected.
Wow.
Like, he literally is trying to be better. And
of what you corrected.
Exactly. Like, he'll show me here's the tip. I made this flashcard so I can practice what you taught me. And it's so encouraging as a teacher because it shows that he has the desire to learn and he's okay making mistakes. It's like, you're going to make mistakes. It's not your native language. Like, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And even if it is your native language, we make mistakes all the time. So even more with the second language. And it's like he's okay with not being the best, but he's going to end up being one of the best. Yeah. So, it's great. So I totally agree. Yeah. All right. So next one is, you told us about your hardest and your favorite. What do you enjoy most about teaching English?
About teaching?
Yeah, since before it was the job you hated, but now you're a teacher. What do you enjoy the most?
I honestly enjoy, it's not really moments, sometimes it's moments in class, but I enjoy like when everything starts, what you taught them starts to kind of sink in and they're firing on all cylinders and they're starting to use it, Like, for example, I had a student and his name was Adam. And he came in, he couldn't even speak. He could not speak anything. Zero English. We started from the alphabet. And like, then we worked up to like, he was walking in class, hi, Samuel, teacher. I'd say, hi, Adam, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good. And like, that was it. But like, that was such a progression. Yeah. So like my favorite thing as teaching is to see that progression, like to see marked improvement. So not just like general, they could just have a conversation now, but like marked improvement. Like they could not do this before. Now they are doing this. Like this is cool, because you did that. You kind of helped shape that. And so like, I don't know. It's just kind of cool, Like sometimes I wonder if that's how like God feels about us. Like, oh wow, like, look at Tiffani. Like she started here and now she's doing this. Like, like that's cool. Yeah, like, look at Johnny, like he was real down low.
You crazy?
He was real down low, and then I helped him out. Look what I did. That's me. Like that's it's a good feeling. Like it is a good feeling, And like that's why I totally am on board with the fact that I always thought that teaching wasn't gonna be a one-way street, but teaching is not a one-way street. It goes both ways. Like. It really is shaping both of you. Like, I'm sure you know that by now.
Oh, yeah. I told my students that before. I was like, you guys, when we, like, again, like, I went to Korea as a missionary. And I've told students, I was like, guys, as a missionary, you go somewhere with a mission, like you have a mission to give something.
Yeah.
But what I
Yeah.
realized, and many of my other friends that went there as missionaries, we say the mission is for the missionary. And that just means
Yeah.
that I learned more from my students than I think they learned from me. Even though, I mean,
Yeah.
I think they learned, of course, a lot of English. Like you mentioned, I grew as a person. So many
No.
aspects of that experience shaped me and made me what I hope to be a better person. So I think, yeah, we learn more from students than they realize. Even now, being home and I teach via the internet, I still learn a lot because students will send messages and you just learn a lot from the conversations you have with students and things they tell you, because I'm teaching them English, but they're still a person. Like they have a life, their culture, and little things they can tell us about their culture. It's amazing. It's really, you learn a lot.
And they're going to go now and use the language skills that you have taught them to apply out in the world, which is going to have an effect on their country or their family. Like, it's really like, wow. Like, it's crazy how much reach is going on there.
Yeah.
Like, that's some like generational reach going on.
Exactly. All right. So I know they're probably curious. You kind of told us a little bit. I know, but I'll let you tell them. Do you speak another language or languages? And if you could, which language would you learn if you don't? So I know you speak another language, but tell us.
Hablo español, parlo italiano, and 조금 한국 한국말, 조금 한국말.
So for those of you that don't speak Italian, Spanish, or English or Korean, you want me to translate, or you want to do it?
Yeah, so I speak Spanish, so the first language is Spanish. My mom is Mexican, so that's why I can speak Spanish. Although I'm losing it really fast here in Korea, so like sometimes I try to think in my head about it so I don't lose it. But Italian, I studied for 2 years in college, and like there was a period where I completely lost all of it. And then now, for some reason, when I listen to like Italian TV or Italian speaking, I can understand it almost better than almost as good as I can understand English. It's really weird.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened. And I think it's just because of my exposure. I wasn't exposed to it for a long time. So I think if I went to Italy for a while and got exposed to it, it would kind of resurface. And I'm like, okay, this is firing. I remember what this means. But like, also, it's very similar to Spanish. So, I think they're both Latin languages. So it's just, they have a lot of the same basis. And Korean, I've been in Korea 5 years, and like I'm currently studying Korean, and I'm really trying hard. It's really difficult, but you got to really be studious. So I'm currently trying to get there to be fluent.
That's what's up. Again, another inspiration. Students that are listening, you're going to inspire them. Like, you're a teacher, you just got married, you have a busy life, yet you're still trying to improve yourself and learn another language. So that's very commendable. That's what's up.
People don't realize how valuable it is to know the language. They think it's just like, to get a job and to get this. Yeah, those are benefits, but that's not like the main thing. Like the main thing is like it personally, like it develops you as a person. Like it takes a lot of tenacity to be able to sit down and learn a language that's not your mother tongue.
Yeah, it's true.
That's literally working another part of your brain, right? That after I think it's 5 years old?
Yeah.
Like when you're under 5 years old, it's way easier to learn language. But after you're 5 years old, it becomes significantly harder.
Yep.
So like it takes that much more effort. So like I think it's like I'm not sure, I'm not a doctor or anything, but like the studies of people who learn languages later in life and the rates to like dementia or other kind of brain development diseases, because like it's keeping your brain active and learning something. So personally, I'm all for it. It's really awesome, and you get to learn something new, and it keeps you humble.
Yeah.
You want to humble yourself, learn another language, especially if it's difficult.
Yeah, because you turn into a baby right then. Like, okay, I don't know anything.
I'm a baby. Every time I go to Korea, and then like if I lose it, like my Korean sometimes is oddly very good, and then sometimes I lose all of it. So they'll ask me. It's usually when I respond. I ask something in Korean, they get excited and talk to me, and I get nervous and clam up.
Yeah.
And then I turn into like,
right.
Ego moyo. And like you just lose it. So Yeah,
Yeah.
it's humbling.
It's true. That's very true. Very true. One other thing too, I noticed personally, like, and you already know this, so I learned Korean as an adult. Like I started
Mm,
in my late 20s. So I started, I think I was 28, 29, so years ago, whatever. But
mm,
it taught me so much about the culture. And like people ask, like,
mm.
how did I stay in Korea so long? I said, here's the thing, like learning the language, yes, it got to a point to where I could travel anywhere and I was fine. I was comfortable. I could go alone. It was okay. I said, but the
Yeah.
main thing was I learned so much more about the culture, which helped me understand, this is why they do things like this, or this is why they think like that,
Yep.
which made me want to stay there longer. I'm like, oh, I understand you more. So this has become like a second home. So now, like,
Yep.
I'll miss Korea at certain times because it's my second home now because of
Yeah.
learning the language and understanding the culture. Like, I'm not confused about certain things anymore. I'm like, okay, I get
No.
to do that. Okay, that's cool. So,
And you start to like, how do you say? It changes the posture of like how you approach people from that culture. You
yep.
know, I've seen people. I tell people, expats who come to Korea or any country, what's gonna make or break your time here is your attitude.
Yep.
If you have a bad attitude, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna get mad at everything. Oh, why do they do this? Why do Koreans do that? Why do they do that? You know. But like, you're in their country. Take some time to learn their
Exactly.
language, and you learn their language, and you learn how they do things. And now that I know certain things, I'm like, that makes sense to me actually. Like, it
Yep.
used to make me real mad when Ajumas would just like throw bows at me, like in the grocery store. I'm like, what is going on here? And
Yep.
now I realize like they put a big respect on like the elderly
Yep.
and make them first. And like now I understand it because honestly, in this country, they're mildly disenfranchised. Like they don't get a lot of support sometimes, and like it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard for them. So like, what's the difference between me, like one person waiting in line, and just letting this elderly woman go ahead, even if she's
Exactly.
cutting? Like, it's not worth it, Just
Exactly.
so little things like that. It gives you more grace for the culture. And like I said, yeah, you hit it on the nail with like wanting to learn more about the culture because I'm learning that language, but along with it, like I have books. I'm looking at them right now on Korean history
Mm-hmm.
and Korean knowledge, and like all that came from the desire to learn that language and to
Yep.
dig in. Because when you learn language, you're not just learning the language, you're learning the people. You're
Yep.
learning about the people. You're learning
Exactly.
about like, how that language is applied, because you can learn any language all you want. And like, for example, in Spanish, like there's like really high forms that you can use, but like not everybody use that. But you're not going to know that if you're not like digging into like the culture and like, okay, in this setting it's not necessary to use like
Yep.
ustedes. It's not necessary to use like this tense, like, okay. um
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I'm really happy to hear too that you said you're reading about the culture and you're also learning the language. And I say this because it's very weird. So I'm an African American female, but
Yeah.
part of me, because I lived in Korea for so long and I learned the language, I studied at their, universities, got my master's degree there in their language and stuff. It's so weird because part of me feels such a connection with Korean people that I kind of want to fight for them in certain situations, like kind of stand up for them.
Yeah, you become an advocate.
Exactly. And it's like, no, don't misunderstand this aspect. Now, there are aspects of the culture that, again, are opposite of my culture. So, yes, they're
Yeah.
difficult to not understand, difficult to adapt. But when I'm in your
Yeah.
country, I adapt because this is your culture. But like, I've had some friends who have read about the culture, but they don't know the language. So they think they
Yeah.
understand. I'm like, no, you don't really understand until you've actually started to learn the language and read about their culture in their language.
Yep.
I'm saying that
Yep.
because I had an understanding, and then when I went to university and I actually had to read about certain things in Korean, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the way you guys think about
Yep.
this, and it's just a whole different dynamic, a different way of thinking, and it's amazing. Like you said, like your
And
brain just
some of
goes
it's
blows your mind. Hmm?
and some of it's like a lesson for you. Like I learned, like I used to get so mad when the students, I knew they knew the answer. I knew for a fact they knew the answer because we talked about it. I knew it was in their head, and then they would always be timid and didn't want to answer. And I'm like, oh man, this is bugging me. I know you're smart. I know you know this. I wasn't getting angry. Like I was getting so frustrated. And then I learned like in Korean culture, like before they speak, they don't speak. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not quick to speak
Mm-hmm.
because like it's like if you say something wrong and it brings shame on yourself, like
Yep.
you'd rather than just not speak. And to other
Exactly.
people that sounds strange, but like that's like a form of respect for the other person and for themselves, you
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like, okay, unless if I wish I did that. So like avoid saying something stupid, Johnny, in this sentence, which I always do sometimes and talk too much. My wife is laughing at me right now. then then we just hold back, don't say anything, and
Uh-huh.
just wait. Keep
Yeah.
listening to the conversation.
True. Exactly. You already
Yeah,
realize like there's certain things that we can learn from them. Like, yeah, yeah. The cultural
yeah,
exchange. Okay, last thing, because I mean, this conversation is good. Sorry, students, you guys are getting a whole lot
yeah,
from us.
yeah.
So one of my closest friends is Korean. And she may listen to this
Okay,
later, but like we're very, very close. And she speaks English perfectly. She was an English teacher as well. Um,
okay.
but through our friendship, Johnny, when I say I learned so much, it was a cultural exchange because there were ideas I had and there were ideas that she
Mm,
had, but they were so
mm.
opposite that through our friendship, we were able to learn about each other's culture. And it
Yeah,
really developed us both. Like we both were like, oh my goodness, like we both grew as individuals. As women, we grew because we learned a different culture and how somebody
yeah,
else thought. It helps you to be more understanding, but because of a
yeah,
close friendship, like, and we were talking about, wow, it's really hard to have, in honesty, a close friendship, not surface. Like, I mean, deep,
yep.
like
Deep, go
deep,
deep.
go deep. Like, I went to Korea for your wedding. Like, I traveled, whatever. But it's really hard to have those kind of deep friendships because the culture is so opposite. But when you're willing
Yeah,
to basically break down and understand somebody else, man, it's such a beautiful friendship that can happen and occur.
yeah.
So, yeah.
That and all that stems from like you gotta put that out there. Like you gotta like step out there and be like, okay, like I'm gonna go deeper than just trying to just learn this language. Like I wanna like go deeper in friendships and go deeper in
Mhm.
this like because sometimes like we treat language learning as this it's so surface level. It's
Mm,
just learning the language. And it's
yeah,
not. It's really
exactly.
not. And if you treat it like that, then
Mm,
that's what you're gonna get. I'm not
mm,
saying you're not gonna learn the language, but you're only gonna get surface level learning. So
exactly.
like that's essentially what I got with Italian. I
Uh-huh.
learned it. I know the verbs and all this stuff, but like I just got surface. And so what happened after a few years, I lost most of it. I can
Mm,
maybe understand something, but
mm-hmm.
like I guarantee you, if I had some Italian friends, if I went and studied in Italy, if I did that and dug deep, like oh man, like
Yeah.
I'd be spouting off in Italian more so than I can right now.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, my next question is kind of wrapping up things. Now,
Okay.
students are learning, and like we're
Yeah.
both talking about the beauty of actually getting to know people in the language and like in the country.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
Yeah.
students that I have that are not able to either come to America or even go to England or
Mm,
to a native English speaking country. So they're very
mm,
curious about English resources that can help them. And when I say English resources, I'm not really speaking about books because remember, a lot of the students listening are intermediate and advanced English learners. So they quote unquote
mm,
got the grammar down, they got the vocabulary, but they want to experience like English culture. So even if it's a
mm,
television program that you like, so really, Johnny, what do you like to
mm.
watch on TV? Are there blogs you actually read on a regular basis or anything that you do as an American, like something that they can benefit from? Like I've told them what
Okay.
show I like, something like for you.
I'm an older person, so
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at the news. So the
Yeah.
first thing I thought about, I started doing with my kids one time, is there's this part of CNN called CNN 10 News. Do you know what that is?
What's that?
It's
CNN
called
10.
CNN 10 News. I think it's CNN 10 News, and you go on there, and what it is, they give you 10 minutes worth of worldwide news. But it's
Mm.
cool because you learn about all these different cultures, what's happening in the world, but they're speaking, and in between that, they have little quizzes. So they'll say, "Pop quiz, who is the president of this
Nice.
country?" And it's really valuable because you're learning about these different cultures. It's in English. You're getting quizzed on it, and it's only 10 minutes. So like, let's say
Very
you do a
nice.
lesson and you kind of pop in with that. Like, it's a nice little refresher. And I'm not gonna lie, if you're not it may not be where you're at because they speak very fast and
Okay.
it's difficult verbiage. Okay, but
Okay.
if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to set a
Mm.
goal for yourself, it's a good place to start
Good.
with. It's a good place to start with there. And honestly, like otherwise I would just start with like how Americans, as you know, probably when you came to Korea, you start watching Korean TV shows, right?
Exactly.
So you started watching these different shows and it helps you because you start to apply what you're learning. So like I mean, I could talk about some of my favorite shows. Like I
Yeah.
like comedy, so I like The Office.
Yes.
You know, or The Office is hilarious. Like that is hilarious to me. Or we can go like really old school, and we can tell them to look up like Family Matters,
Yep.
or the Cosby Show or something, or Full House,
yep,
something, because it's like in those shows they're family based shows, so they speak kind of at a very slow pace. The show theme develops at a very slow pace. You can kind of catch on what is happening, and you actually learn a lot of slang, a lot of jargon. Oh, that's what they say in San Francisco. Oh, that's what they say in Chicago. Like, oh, so like you pick up on these things, and I think those are the best. Those are the best. Some of the best ways to learn, because they're little snapshots in our culture at that time.
Yep.
You know, and that kind of helps you in your knowledge and ability to like be able to work out the shows. As for me now, I can't mention other shows because I just watched, like, me and my wife just watched housing shows, you know, like building
HGTV?
houses or yes! Things like that. And like we love watching like things like Marie Kondo.
Yep.
Like, you know, that Marie Kondo, like the organizing thing, and food, foodie stuff. So yeah.
What's your favorite food show? Because some students like cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you, this is really old school. Man versus Food used to be my favorite show. Oh my goodness. I loved that show so much. It was pretty much a guy who traveled the nation, and he would do food challenges, but at the same time, he would show you little hot spots in the United States where there was like really bomb food. So like he would go to Mississippi, and he would say, okay, this is like the gumbo challenge or something. But they would show you, okay, let me show you the 5 best places to get gum, and we go eat there. And like, oh, I love that show. And I watched a lot of Anthony Bourdain shows. He's really good, but you know, rest in peace. He's not with us. But there's other random shows that, oh man, what's that food show we were just watching one day? Sorry, I'm
asking.
What was it called? Yeah, because that's what happens when you get older. You forget things. What's the show where it's like a food challenge? And it's like a cook-off, and they have like a cook-off of their food. Is it Food Incorporated or food? Oh man.
Is it?
Oh, it's gonna bug me. It's bugging me. Are you looking up right now? Okay. Oh.
Is it with Are they going against one of the famous guys on the Food Network? One of those guys, or it's?
Yeah. What is that?
Bobby Flay? Like something with Bobby Flay? No. The Final Table.
Oh
yes, I watched that. Yes, the Final Table.
Yeah, the Final Table.
Yes, I watched that.
I love that show because they go to different places now, and like, I like it because, you know, usually they have like the chefs cooking in their own environment, and that's a little bit boring. Like, okay, we know you can cook flambe or whatever this is, but like to take a chef out of his element who's German, and like, one time they had him make all Mexican food, and someone like, I've never even heard of Mexican food, and so that was cool. So they had to think on the spot, and like, oh, that was cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, these are great shows. Okay, a lot of these shows you can find on Netflix, guys, and some just go on the internet and look them up. But yeah, great list.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, final question. Easy question. Any last words? Any advice you can give to the students? Anything?
Honestly, and this is going to be such a teacher cliche, have fun.
Yeah.
Because like, if you don't find some way to have fun with it, whether it's watching one of these shows, finding a friend to dig in and go deeper with, or it's really going to start to get redundant after a while. Just doing the same lessons and doing this, it's like, it's going to get kind of stale. I mean, it's just like, kind of like, you know, that's why we have friendships. See, we have different kinds of friendships that go, you know, deep. And I would say just have fun with it, but at the same time, like, don't take your eyes off your goal. Like, don't take your eyes off of like why you have started learning English, and what your goal is. Like, keep focused on that goal. Like, write it down every single day. Write your progress. Even if you go backwards, write it down. Like, keep focused on that. Keep focused on that, because I've seen smart students. I mean, smart students who like, I mean, so smart they should be like diplomats, and they just quit. They drop out of the academy because they got burnt out. And I don't think it was the reason why it wasn't just they got burnt out, is they lost sight of the goal. Maybe they just thought, oh, just my mom wants me to learn. And like, that's going to last for a little bit. until you get bored or until you lose sight of it. And so like, write it down. Whatever your goal is in learning English, whatever it is, write it down and put it somewhere you can look at it every day. Because like one thing is like, man, repetition is like the father of success. But like you keep doing that again and again, and you keep seeing it, it's going to start to sink into your mind. So that way, everything that you do, you should be visualizing that goal. If you're doing a problem, you're working on a sentence and man, it's really hard, but you have that goal in mind, like you'll work through it, you know. But if you don't, you're just gonna like throw the pencil down, like, forget it. I'm gonna bounce out, and like I guarantee you, like you're gonna regret it. Because like even little things, like I regret not continuing to pursue Italian or being studious in that regard. I should by this time in 5 years in Korea, I should have been almost fluent, but I really dropped the ball in studying. I'm trying to pick it back up. So like just be studious, keep your eyes on the goal, and like have fun. Find a way to have fun. And like I guarantee you, because like a treat for me is like, man, these books, you know, the Talk to Me in Korean.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to give plugs on your show?
Of course. Hey.
Talk to Me in Korean is awesome. But like their books are really challenging, really practical. But sometimes after going through it, man, I'm like sweating, like, oh. But a treat for me is like, okay, I just learned this and I turn on Korean TV. Or I turn on a Korean TV show. And it's kind of like a relaxing fun. Then I hear like, oh, I learned that word, or I know that word, or I know what they're saying, or I know what this is, you know?
Yeah.
And like you connect it and you're having a show, you're watching a show and it's having fun. So it's like, it for that day, for that time, it relieves it. So like whatever it is, every day after you learn, whatever you got to do, read a book, watch a TV show, talk with a friend, like do something to either to take your mind off that lesson for a quick and get into a practical sense of what language you're learning, you know? Yeah. It's going to help you in two ways, because it's going to help you with applied knowledge, which I'm telling you is key. Applied knowledge, applied learning, and it's going to help you have fun. Yeah. And you're going to get that energy and that motivation to keep going.
That's what's up. Great advice. I was trying to type as you were talking, and I mean, great advice. Hold on one sec. Find ways to apply what you learn. Great advice. Yeah, I did that also when I was learning Korean. I would watch dramas, and I was level 1, so didn't understand 90% of what they were, 95% of what they were saying. But your brain is like, your brain just starts making connections. Like, okay, well, has to be upset because of the way her face looks and what she just said.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what she's. It's like you just connect things. But like you said, I enjoyed watching it, even though I didn't understand everything. So great advice. Find something.
You gotta think about it like a baby. Like, how do babies learn? Babies don't understand every word in English you're speaking.
Exactly.
But you keep speaking it to them, it's stored away in their head, then that becomes applied knowledge, because one day you point at that chair and you say chair, they remember that was a chair, that is a chair. In English, that is chair. You know? It's the same thing for you. You weren't listening to any of that Korean, it was just going through. So I guarantee you it was getting stored away somewhere, and you saw that Korean K-dramas are, oppa!
Yep.
Oppa!
Exactly.
Yeah, like, and then you're like, oh, okay, I know what she's older brother.
Yep, exactly.
Korean egg yo.
Exactly. Man, Johnny, thank you so much. I mean, this, honestly, I'm so excited. I think the students are going to learn so much from this conversation, and
good.
I really appreciate you taking your time. Really appreciate you.
All right, awesome. I wish you guys all the best luck and stick with it. And you got a good teacher, so you're on the right track. So keep it going.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that conversation that I had with Johnny. Isn't he amazing? He's such a great guy. Don't forget to put in the comment section what tip you actually liked that Johnny gave during our conversation. Remember, I'm going to pick a winner, and I hope it's you. All right, guys, I will talk to you next week. Don't worry, story time will be back next week. We had a lot of stories during our conversation, so it's coming next week. But I'll see you next time. Have an amazing week, and remember to speak English.